The house felt colder now, even in daylight. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, but it did nothing to soften the tension that wrapped around Amara like iron chains. Her sister no longer looked at her the same way. Chika's eyes, once warm, once trusting, now carried a shadow of suspicion, a silent accusation born from the text messages Daniel had carefully planted. Amara replayed the moment 100 times in her head. Chika standing at her door, her phone shaking in her hands, the disbelief in her trembling voice as she asked, "Why would Daniel be writing to you like this?" That one question had undone everything. Amara was now branded the liar, the traitor, the jealous sister who couldn't stand her siblings' happiness. Daniel had painted her with a brush so precise, so cruel, that she almost believed it herself. Almost. But Amara knew the truth. Daniel hadn't just betrayed her pact. He had rewritten the story, placing himself as the hero and her as villain. If she didn't act soon, the role would stick and she would never escape it. Every morning became a performance. Chika and Daniel moved around the house like a flawless couple, laughing, cooking together, whispering as though they shared a secret language. Amara lingered in the background, a shadow at the edge of their perfect picture. When Daniel caught her staring, he would wink, just subtle enough for Chika not to notice. The gesture burned like acid. At night, Amara heard them through the thin walls, Chika's soft giggles, Daniel's deep murmur. Sometimes, she pressed her pillow over her ears, but the sound always found a way in, mocking her, reminding her of the power she had handed over to him. She had wanted to destroy her sister. Instead, she had become the ghost haunting her sister's paradise. But Amara wasn't finished, not yet. Amara began documenting Daniel's every move. She noticed he never left his phone unattended. He carried it into the shower, into the garden, even when taking out the trash. She noticed he always kept a separate keychain in his pocket, one he never used for the house or his car. She followed him again, more carefully this time, keeping her distance. He went to places that didn't add up. A warehouse on the edge of town, a lawyer's office, and once again, the hotel with the red-dressed woman. But this time, Amara was ready. She snapped photos with her phone, each one clear enough to reveal Daniel's betrayal. Finally, she thought. She had proof. Yet a sickening thought twisted in her chest. Would Chika even believe her now? Or would Daniel twist the truth again, turning her evidence into another trap? That night, Amara waited for Daniel in the garden, the same place where he had once whispered threats into her ear. He stepped outside, casual, his t-shirt unbuttoned at the collar, a glass of wine in hand. When he saw her, his lips curved into that infuriating smile. "You've been busy," he said, sipping his wine. Amara's breath caught. "What do you mean?" Daniel chuckled. "Pictures, following me. You're predictable, Amara. Always desperate, always clumsy. Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" Her throat tightened. He knew. Somehow, he always knew. "I will expose you," she hissed. "I'll show her everything." Daniel leaned closer, lowering his voice until it was almost a whisper. "And what will that prove? That you've been stalking me? That your obsession has driven you to madness?" She already doubts you, Amara. One more wrong move, and you will look exactly how I want you to look. Pathetic. His words cut deep, but Amara held her ground. "You won't win forever," she said. Daniel's eyes gleamed, sharp and merciless. "I already have." Amara tried again to reach Chika. She waited until Daniel had left for one of his mysterious business meetings and approached her sister in the kitchen. "Chika, please," she began softly. "You have to listen to me. Daniel isn't who you think he is." Chika froze, her hand hovering over a pot of boiling water. Slowly, she turned to face Amara, her expression guarded. "I don't want to hear this again," Chika said flatly. "But I have proof." Chika's voice cracked like a whip. "Enough, Amara. I'm tired of your poison. You've hated me since we were children, and now you're trying to ruin the one good thing I have. Why can't you just let me be happy?" The words stung more than Amara expected. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. "You think I hate you?" Amara whispered. "I was trying to protect you." Chika shook her head. Disappointment etched into her features. "No, you are trying to destroy me. There is a difference." She turned away, and the conversation was over. For the first time in years, Amara realized she had truly lost her sister. Days later, Amara's persistence paid off. While Daniel showered, he left his jacket draped across the couch. A keychain clinked as it slipped from the pocket, and Amara seized it instantly. Among the keys was one engraved with the logo of the very warehouse she had seen him enter. Heart pounding, she tucked it into her pocket before he returned. That night, while Chika and Daniel slept, Amara crept out of the house and drove to the warehouse. The key fit perfectly. Inside, the place was filled, not with machinery or storage crates, but with files, stacks of documents, binders, receipts, contracts. Amara riled through them, her hands trembling, and then she found it. Records of financial transfers under false names, offshore accounts, and property deeds hidden under shell companies. Daniel wasn't just a manipulative lover. He was laundering money. Amara snapped photos of everything, her pulse racing. Finally, she had the kind of evidence no one could ignore, or so she thought. As she stepped back into the cold night air, her phone buzzed. A single message lit up her screen. "Enjoying the tour?" Her heart lurched. Daniel knew she was there. She spun around, scanning the shadows, but the parking lot was empty. Panic surged through her as she raced back to her car, her mind spinning. How had he known? Was he watching her? Tracking her? By the time she reached home, her hands were shaking so violently, she could barely fit the key into the door. Inside, Daniel sat at the kitchen table, calm as ever, a glass of wine in hand. "You're predictable," he said softly, echoing his earlier words. "Always running where I want you to run. Did you think I would leave my secrets unguarded?" Amara's throat tightened. Why keep all that? Why risk everything? Daniel's smile was slow, cruel, because power isn't just about what you hide. It's about who you control with it. And right now, Amara, I control you. That night, Amara lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The weight of her discovery pressed down on her like a stone. She had the truth, but Daniel had the narrative. If she exposed him now, he would twist it, make her look insane, discredit every word. If she stayed silent, Chika would remain blind, and Daniel's grip would tighten further. There was only one path left. She couldn't just expose him. She had to destroy him. Amara barely slept. The decision had been made, and with it came a grim kind of clarity. She couldn't keep begging Chika to open her eyes. Words were useless. Proof was useless. Daniel had constructed a world so airtight, so carefully spun, that the truth was smothered before it could even breathe. So she would stop whispering, she would stop pleading, she would strike. The evidence she had collected from the warehouse, the financial ledgers, the fake accounts, the shell properties, wasn't just proof of betrayal, it was a weapon. The only question was how to wield it without Daniel twisting the blade back on her. The next day, Amara put on her calmest face and played the part of the defeated sister. She laughed when Chika laughed. She kept her distance from Daniel, no longer pushing or prodding. She even offered to cook dinner, smiling as though nothing had happened. Daniel watched her closely. His eyes narrowed with suspicion. He knew she was planning something. Amara could feel it in the way he studied her, the way he lingered too long in doorways. But she was done being predictable. She created new email accounts under anonymous names, uploaded the photos she had taken at the warehouse, and began drafting messages to journalists, government investigators, even a few private detectives. Daniel's entire operation was about to be exposed. But she wanted more than that. She didn't just want him arrested. She wanted him ruined. Amara began dropping subtle hints to Chika, not of Daniel's crimes, but of his character. "Doesn't it bother you," she asked one evening, "that he never leaves his phone behind, even when you're right there beside him?" Chika frowned but said nothing. Another day, she left a slip of paper on the counter, an address scribbled in Daniel's handwriting, one of the shell properties he secretly owned. When Chika asked about it, Daniel laughed it off, saying it was related to business. But Amara saw the tiny crack in her sister's certainty. The seeds were planted. Now she needed the storm. It didn't take long for Daniel to strike back. One night, as Amara returned from the store, she found him waiting in the darkened living room, sitting in her chair as though he owned it. "You've been busy," he said smoothly, his voice carrying that familiar edge of menace. Amara forced herself to stay calm. "You're imagining things." Daniel chuckled, low and dangerous. "I told you before, Amara. You're predictable. Think I don't see the emails you've been drafting, the accounts you've been using? Do you really think you can move without me knowing?" Her stomach clutched. He had eyes everywhere. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, her voice cracking. "Why marry Chika? Why destroy me?" For a moment, Daniel's mask slipped, revealing something colder than hatred: indifference. "Because I could," he said simply. "Because your jealousy was the perfect weapon. You wanted her life ruined, and I gave you exactly what you wanted. Now you're paying for it." The cruelty of it struck Amara harder than any blow. He hadn't just used her, he had delighted in it. Amara decided it was time for the confrontation. She arranged a family dinner at their parents' house, insisting she wanted to make peace. Chika, still worried, but softened by her sister's recent change in demeanor, agreed. Daniel, confident as ever, accepted with a smile. Amara arrived early, slipping her phone under the table, already recording. She had copies of the warehouse files hidden in her bag. Tonight, the truth would come out. As the meal began, she forced herself to stay composed. Conversation flowed easily. Her parents laughing, Chika glowing with Daniel's arm draped around her shoulders. Finally, Amara cleared her truth. "There is something I need to share," she said, her voice steady. The room fell silent. She pulled out the papers, spreading them across the table. These are Daniel's fake accounts, money laundering, property schemes. He's been lying to all of you. Her parents stiffened. Chika's face paled. Daniel leaned back in his chair, utterly calm. Amara, Chika whispered, her voice trembling. What is this? Amara's heart pounded. The truth. I can prove everything. Daniel smiled. Can you? Before Amara could respond, Daniel pulled out his phone. With a few taps, he projected a series of screenshots onto the television. Emails, all written from Amara's anonymous accounts, pointing her as a blackmailer. Messages she had drafted but never sent, now twisted into threats. Her blood ran cold. This is what she's been doing, Daniel said smoothly. Fabricating evidence, trying to frame me. She even hacked into my business files. I've been patient, but this obsession has gone too far. Her parents turned to her, horrified. Amara, is this true? Her father demanded. No, Amara cried. He's lying. He's twisting everything. But the damage was done. The carefully laid trap had been reversed. Chika's eyes filled with tears. Why, Amara? Why can't you just let me be happy? Amara's chest tightened, the words choking her. But he's not who you think he is. But no one listened. Daniel reached across the table, taking Chika's trembling hand. I'll protect you from this, he said softly. From her. And just like that, the villain became the savior. Amara was left cornered, her truth swallowed whole. After the dinner, as her parents tried to console Chika, Daniel found Amara alone outside. He leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. You see how easy it is, he whispered. You'll never win. You're alone now, Amara. One more move against me, and I won't just ruin your reputation. I'll ruin you permanently. For the first time, Amara felt true fear, not just for herself, but for her sister. Daniel wasn't just a manipulator. He was dangerous, and he was still 2 steps ahead. That night, Amara stared at the ceiling, her fists clenched. Her plan had backfired spectacularly. Her family no longer trusted her. Her sister saw her as the enemy. Daniel had outplayed her at every turn, but something inside her refused to break. She whispered into the darkness, her voice shaking but certain. This isn't over. Because if Daniel wanted a war, then a war was exactly what he would get. Amara lay awake long after the disastrous dinner at her parents' house. Every word replayed in her mind. Every glance of disappointment from her father. Every tear from her mother. Every look of betrayal in Chika's eyes. And Daniel's smug face. So calm, so certain. Like a man who believed himself untouchable. She had been humiliated, outplayed, silenced. And yet, something inside her refused to die. That night, staring at the ceiling of her dark room, Amara whispered into the shadows, I will not let him win. For days afterward, she pretended to retreat. She went through the motions of ordinary life, moving quietly in the background of her family's affair. She avoided arguments with Chika, stayed out of her parents' way, and kept her head bowed low. But inside, she was studying, watching, waiting. Daniel thought he had crushed her spirit. What he didn't realize was that Amara was done playing by his rules. She would not fight him head on again. No, This time, she would watch for the crack in his armor, and when it came, she would strike.